KD Live.
What's up, family? If it's your first time checking out the show, let me know what city, what state you're coming in from. If you're outside of the U.S., let me know what country you're representing. Throw up your flag. Family, I need you to smash up the likes, smash up the likes, smash up the likes. Also, if you have not done so already on YouTube after you subscribe, there's a little bell next to your subscribe button. Go ahead and click that thing right now so you can get your notifications each time I drop a new video like this. That way you'll be in the loop. I let a few hundred of y'all come in, then I'm going in. But in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to give some shots out to the early birds, starting with Daniel Orton. What's up? Fulfillment C. All right. Isaiah Flagler. What's up? What's up, China Carter? Happy Saturday. Clemmy Bell. What it do? Boss Hog Marshall. Boss Hog. Matt F. What's up, Block RU? Mary Campbell. What's up, Mary? All right, fam. You better believe, Mary. Yeah, you better believe it. Sylvia Thompson, I'm going in on your name, man. I'm going in. Here we go. Let me pick up my subject. That young man is Shadur Sanders. Shadur Sanders is one of the best college prospects that came out this year and entered his name into the NFL draft. Shedeur, by all accounts, was projected to be a 1, 2, 3 pick, a top 3 pick in the NFL. But something happened along the way. Them folks decided they didn't like Shadeur's attitude when he went to do his interviews and even when he trained. And based off that, it is suspected that, at least by them, that is the reason why Shadur slipped from the first round to the 5th round in the NFL draft 2025. Nevertheless, although he did not get what he wanted, I think the most important thing that he wanted was to be a professional football player. And he has achieved his goal of that, becoming the 144th pick in the 5th round of the NFL draft. I got a problem with that. Now, here's the thing, fam. Shadur, we all know, he should have been a first-round pick. Obviously, the haters are going to say, no way, Jose. But most of the pundits and the experts had him an easy pick, a top 3 pick. Easy. But for some reason, they decided that they was going to ice him. They're going to put him on ice and not draft him in the higher rounds. Now, some people say, well, man, at least he got drafted. I give you that. At least he got drafted. He's already accomplished something that most people who's ever put on a pair of cleats and a football uniform will ever in their lifetime. 99.999% of all of them have never and will never make it to the NFL. It is a very competitive sport. This is the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Having said that, fam, I just can't help but feeling some type of way about this. Some people say, well, man, yeah, he in, cool. I got it. He should have been in. There's a big difference. And this is the biggest thing. This ain't really got a lot to do with pride. This ain't even about pride. This is about a young man who played by the rules. He did everything he was told to do. He did the workouts. He followed his coach's instructions. He carried himself honorably in society. He don't have anything on his record. He don't have a criminal record. He ain't got no scandals with women or boys. He's a very respectful, mannerable young man. Did I mention he put the work in? Did I mention that he had the talent? And I just hate that they did him like that. So that's one thing that they did him like that. That's one thing. But let's talk about the money. There's a big difference in going in the first round and in the fifth round. We're talking millions. Had Shedeur not been dealing with uncivilized mutts, they would have picked him. He would have been one of the top picks, and he would have made in excess of $30 million, somewhere along those lines, 30 million and up. Instead, he was picked in the fifth round, blackballed to the fifth round. And he ends up being the number 144th pick, which means that his pay scale is drastically reduced to somewhere between $4 to $5 million. That's about an 85% decrease in pay. That's a big deal. I mean, imagine, think about yourself, whatever kind of money you're making right now. And let's say you're going to start off fresh. Let's say you go to a job and you go somewhere and they say, well, we're going to offer you, let's say you make 100,000. They say, we're going to offer you 15,000. Or let's say you at your same job and you make 100,000 and they offering you 15,000. What you going to do about that? Would you think that was cool? I don't think that's cool. Let's compare apples to apples. Let's say you was a contractor and you had followed all the rules. You got good reviews. You got a stellar record. You come out and you see you got this big project in front of you and you know what it pays. Based on your talents, based on your skill level, based on your reputation, you should get top dollar for that project. But instead, they slice it up, slice it all the way down by 85%. How would you feel about that? Now, you might want to still take that project just to prove everybody wrong. You might want to still take that project just because you're passionate about it. Because, hey, man, after all, this is what I do. They don't respect me now, but they will respect me. And that's the silver lining. That is the silver lining. The silver lining is, although they did Shedeur dirty, he followed the rules. He did everything he was told. He put the workouts in. He has the talent. He did everything that he was told to do. Was everything that was expected out of this young man, he did it. And instead of him being rewarded, he was penalized. Penalized because of his association to his daddy. He didn't get penalized for the sins of the father. He got penalized for the wins of the father. They can't stand a strong black man raising black children. Strong young black man being raised by a strong black man. See, if Prime was white dude, Prime would be celebrated. And we know that for a fact. They wouldn't even be all in Prime business like that. They wouldn't even be all in Shadur's business like that. Because that's what's expected, you know. They would look at that like a strong family unit. They good, family. Yeah, that's what it's about, family. They'd be celebrating it. But because Dion is a player, as a man who played by his own rules, who had the talent to back up whatever he had to say, whatever issues that may have arisen. They had to deal with it. Well, you know, he's taught his son the same thing, that you don't have to take this, you don't have to take that. You know, you stand on your word, you be a man, you put the work in, and you can talk. As long as you put the work in, you ain't violating nobody, you ain't committing no crimes, that shouldn't be a problem. This ain't no damn popularity contest, but at the same time, it is. And Shadur Sanders is extremely popular. Tim Tebow was trash. They picked him right away and gave him a bunch of money because they didn't want to offend the LGBTQ community. They didn't want to offend the LGBTQ community. Tebow was trash, and he still managed to stay in the NFL for a number of years, just moving him around. Trash. So this could be a blessing in disguise. This could be a blessing in disguise for Shadur Sanders. Because up until this point, he got everything that he worked for, and he got a fair shot. Whatever he wanted to do, he got a fair shot. His daddy made sure that he had a fair shot. So now you're coming into the big bad machine, a machine that's bigger than dad. And As talented as Shedeur is, the NFL can afford to leave him out. They can afford to blackball him. They know he's talented, even though he can bring numbers. They would rather risk those few numbers. They'll figure out a way to market it and get it back. So they'll rather risk any type of revenue that he could bring in than to lose an ounce of control to a black man, than to appear to lose an ounce of control to a black man. You can say what you want to say. Some of y'all in the comments, man, this ain't about race. It's always about race. It's always about race. You can say what you want to say. I know what it is. Ain't nothing you can write that convince me anything different. You can't get me to see it no other way. I don't care what you say. I know what it's about. Look at Archie Manning boys. They know Archie. They constantly praising Archie Manning. Never once try to criticize Archie Manning or his relationship with his boys. When his boys made mistakes, when his boys didn't play well, they never brought the daddy into the picture and said, yeah, that's because he's listening to his daddy. When they got traded, that's because they listened to their daddy. They never did that. They always looked at it as, that's how it goes. Straight, strong, family unit, stick together. What they're trying to do is divide Shedeur and Dion. But what they don't know is that bond is unbreakable. See, they're not used to those type of bonds. They're not used to seeing those type of bonds that are unbreakable between black folks. A black father and his son. They haven't been able to break the bond of LeVar. What's LeVar's name? LeVar Ball yet. They haven't been able to break that bond with his sons, between him and his sons yet. They have not been able to. They've been trying to do it since they were in high school. They can't do it. That's what this is all about. So I see this as an opportunity for Shedeur to shine. This is an opportunity for Shedeur to turn shit into sugar. This is an opportunity for Shedeur to, I always keep thinking Shakur because that's my partner, Shakur Stevenson, that's my partner. What I'm talking about, so I keep, slipping up. But Shedeur, he can use this as motivation, as a lightning rod, to prove all the haters are wrong, which he's been doing his entire football career already. But now he gets to prove that he has an even bigger chip on his shoulder to prove everybody wrong now. He already had to go into the NFL and prove himself already. Had he been drafted number one, he still would have had some kind of chip on his shoulder because he's Dion's son. And, people want to make sure that, he's there because he belongs there, not because somebody placed him there. Now the chip has graduated into a boulder. Now he can really now he understands. He understands that, okay, this is something different. I ain't seen nothing like this before. So now he can go out there with no regrets. He can go out there and just play man. Now he knows also that you cannot take this position for granted. He almost didn't get drafted. Never in his wildest dreams did he imagine that. Nobody imagined that Shadur Sanders, one of the most electrifying, talented players in college football, and all of college football, almost went undrafted. So he can use this as motivation. Now he knows, okay, perhaps there were times in college or high school or even Pee Wee that he took his position for granted. I'm Shadur Sanders. That's my daddy over there, Prime, the coldest to ever do it. I'm following in his footsteps. I can't be stopped because I got talent too, and I'm going to prove it. See, and every step of the way, those doors just open, and he keep, just success, everywhere he goes, success, doors open. Ooh, can't open yourself, call Dion make a call, boom, doors open. I wouldn't be surprised if Dion opened the door here. I wouldn't be surprised if he contacted Cleveland personally, somebody at Cleveland say, look, I need y'all to draft my boy. You know he got the talent, and I know y'all need a quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. I would do it. But Shedeur can use this moment to fuel his fire. Now he knows more than anybody that he cannot take this opportunity for granted. Being Deion Sanders' son in the NFL is not enough. Being talented in the NFL is not enough. He's going to have to play like his life depends on it every day. And this is how football players who make sure that their position is never taken play. He's never had that kind of pressure as a quarterback because he know my dad's the coach. If I slip up a few times, ain't nothing gonna happen. I'm just gonna get back right and everything gonna be cool. He ain't never really had to worry about his position getting taken. So now he gets to almost walk in Tom Brady's shoes. When Tom Brady got to the NFL, he was a backup quarterback. And when he finally got his start, in Tom Brady's mind, he was the greatest already. But in everybody else's mind, he was just a backup quarterback. I think Tom Brady went like 199 or something like that. He got drafted. He was like the 199th draft pick or something. And now they're calling him the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. I disagree, but that's what they're calling him, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. I think the greatest quarterback is probably came up somewhere around in the 80s, who was hot around in the 80s and 90s. I think it was, to me, well, we'll come back to that, but that's a whole other topic. But Tom Brady, he didn't know if he would ever play. He didn't know if he was going to get cut, on what day he'd get cut. He didn't have a projection as to where he was going to end up. He didn't know what was going on. But when they finally put him in, when his teammate got hurt and they finally put him in, that boy went in there and clowned. He was like, I ain't never giving this position back. So now I see Shedeur could operate in that same capacity. Now Shedeur has a boulder on his shoulder now. He knows he can be replaced now. Now, if you didn't know before, He know now he can be replaced, and being Deion's son is not enough. So now he can really shine. And I think he's going to be even better. I think the moment he get a chance to really play, he going to play his ass off. I think it's game on now. I think it's game on. I think this is going to be a blessing in disguise for Shedeur. Because had he been drafted number 1 or number 2 or number 3, it would have been, okay, cool, like, hey, yeah, what you expect? You know what I'm saying? I'm Shadur, I'm Shadur Sanders, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm saying? I get everything I want, you know what I'm saying? I'm the best, you know what I'm saying? And I got drafted like I'm the best. And give me that money over there, give me some more money over here, everything going just as planned. And next thing boom. They picked 32 players in front of him. Now, family, if you watch that boy play, if you watch college football, there ain't 32 players better than Shadur Sanders. But let's go to the second round. They picked 32 more players in front of him. Ain't no 64 players in that draft better than Shadur Sanders. But then they did it again. 32 more players in the third round. He didn't get picked. Now you're at 96. Ain't no way. But they did it. They did it to prove a point and make Shedeur out of an example and make him bow down and kiss the ring. And I will say this, they did humble him. They humbled him. It was sad to see. It was almost like buck breaking, where you hate to see somebody who is a stiff dude, a strong dude, but these people come and attacking him and attack, and they just break him down. I saw that boy by the time when the kid pranked him, called like he was a GM for the Saints. He called Shedur's phone and pranked him, like, yeah, I'm such and such with the Saints, and acting like he said, like, yeah, you're going to be our next pick. And then he got off the phone, and obviously they picked somebody else, and the boy was just heartbroken. So by the time this guy called with the prank, where he thought Shedeur thought it was actually the Saints, the New Orleans Saints calling him, the New Orleans Saints organization calling, he was ready to just get in the NFL. Gone were we're not going to go play for this place. We're not going to play for here. We're not going over here to play in this type of temperature. It was like, man, I'll go anywhere. They'll draft me now. You saw it. You saw that. He went from like, yo, I don't care where they pick me at. I'm going. I just want to be in the NFL now. So that humbled him. They humbled him. It'll be interesting to see how his career develops, especially in the first year. Because unlike some of these other quarterbacks who get a chance, they'll keep some of these guys as backup for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Shadur Sanders is not a backup quarterback. He is a starter. They try to bench him, that ain't going to work. He has to play. And by him playing, he has to play well. Because if he don't play well, oh man, they're gonna kill him. They're gonna kill him in the media. Especially Jason Hamhock. That's one of the most self-hating coconuts in the history of civilization. He can't wait to see that boy fail. Couldn't wait. Every time Colorado lost a game or something happened adversely, he couldn't wait to chime in. Yeah, he could not wait to chime in. So let's get into the story. I know that was a long monologue, but I had to get that off my chest, fam, because this ain't right, man. This ain't right. This ain't cool at all. This ain't cool at all. So if you're just not joining, Shadur Sanders finally was selected on the third day of the NFL draft, picked by the Cleveland Browns as the 144th overall pick. So the wait is over. After going unselected for the first 2 days of the 2025 NFL draft, Deion's son finally has an NFL home with the Cleveland Browns. The former Colorado quarterback was the 144th overall pick, making him a fifth-round selection. Shedeur seemed relieved once his name was called, which is understandable, considering many thought he'd be off the board in the first. Remember, the 23-year-old quarterback was believed to be highly coveted talent, and at one point got chatter as a potential top 5 pick. Even his father, NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, believed he'd go that high. And the family threw a huge draft party on Thursday where Shedeur ended the night with a music performance. That night, Sanders said falling out of the first round added more fuel to his fire, and that tomorrow is the day. We're going to be happy regardless. Well, Friday wasn't his day either, but the anticipation ended once and for all on Saturday. Sanders' drop is the biggest storyline of the draft, and some resorted to speculating whether NFL owners were colluding against him. It ain't speculation. It ain't speculation. It is facts. Family, you know how when something go down, you don't need to be there to verify it. You know it happened. You ain't got to be there. You know these mother did this or that. You know. Because it's what they do. Trump even weighed in on it, and I don't agree with it, nothing he said. But he said the owners were stupid to pass on Shedeur. He'll change that up after Shedeur win a Super Bowl and don't go to the White House. Or, Shedeur posts something that doesn't align with his ideologies. Or if Deion does something, he'll try to split them up. He the type that if Deion says something reckless about him, he'll try to separate the son. He won't throw the son under the bus. He'll just be like, I don't know. Deion Sanders is not a good person. He really wasn't all that good of a ball player to me. Now his son has great potential. His son is a much better person. He loves that divide and conquer. So Shedeur, he joined a pretty crowded quarterback room. The Orange and Brown currently have Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel, the latter being taken in the 3rd round on Friday. So let's stop right there. They got Joe Flacco. The other 2 guys I'm not familiar with, but check this out. They also still have Deshaun Watson, but there's a strong chance he's played his last down of football for the organization as he recovers from an Achilles heel injury. So, so Deshaun is probably won't be there. There's no way they can have Deshaun, Joe Flacco, and Shedeur on that roster. That's too much. That's too much money to pay out. Even though Shedeur is only getting $4 to $5 million, that's too much talent to have on one bench. I'm gonna tell you what I think is going to happen, fam. I think Shedeur is going to get traded to a team that he wants to play for. I think, because they be doing backdoor deals and stuff all the time. And sometimes the player himself may not be aware of what's going on behind the scenes. But I think Cleveland picked up Shedeur to make some type of trade. So maybe they're going to trade Joe Flacco. You cannot bench Shadur Sanders for an entire year. You can't do that. Maybe he's on the bench for a game or 2, but you got to give him some reps. You cannot freeze a player that's that good. You can't do that. Shedeur began his football career at Jackson State, racking up 70 passing touchdowns over his freshman and sophomore seasons. He spent his last 2 seasons at Colorado, where he threw, get this, family, 64 touchdowns and picked up numerous accolades, including the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, along with major NIL deals with brands like Nike and Gatorade. Now he's heading to the pros, ready to prove everyone who passed on him wrong. I say, rumble, young man, rumble. Do not let these uncivilized mutts get you off your game. This is what uncivilized mutts do. They behave uncivilized. The man followed all of the rules. He followed the rules. Now, if you want him to follow a monocracy, then that's something different. But he followed the rules. He put the work in. He should have been rewarded. And even if his daddy is hands-on and outspoken, which we've seen daddies of other colors and they ain't had no problem with all of that. But even if his daddy was hands-on and outspoken, that has nothing to do with his personal responsibilities. As long as he's doing what he's supposed to do on that field and giving the organization what they're supposed to get out of him, maintaining and respecting his moral clause in that contract, because those, when you get that kind of money, you got to have a moral clause, meaning that you can't do anything to embarrass the organization. If you do, we can get rid of you. You can't go out there and commit crimes. You can't do things to make the organization look bad. Well, he don't have anything like that on his record. Nothing. I'm not saying the boy is perfect, obviously, but he's a good kid overall. When you look at what some of these youngsters be getting into, you can look at that boy and say, he's a good kid. He come from good stock. They're punishing him for coming from good stock. They do not like when you come from good stock. They act like they don't. That's the way they justify their mistreatment of us. They love it when you behave like uncivilized, much like them. They love it because this is how they get to really control you. They cannot control you when you come from good stock. See, they hate that more than anything. That's why they've always wanted the black father out of the house. They realized early on, oh no, they seem to be stronger when they're together. When that black mother and that black father are working together, they seem stronger. They are stronger. There's more structure in that house. The kids have more structure and they have more respect. Oh, we can't have that, man. We need them disrespectful, no structure. And if we can have them disrespectful with no structure, no respect for authority, then we can just sit back and wait for them to act up, get out of line, and then we can step in and control them. This is how we can control them. They cannot control those who come from good stock. They control the ones who come from the bad stock. I know that sounds harsh, but you got good parents and you got good parents and you got bad parents. Good parents, good stock. Bad parents, bad stock. Bad stock, oh, they gonna definitely go out there and commit some crimes. They gonna definitely be disrespectful to their teachers and other adults. They're gonna definitely disrespect their community. They're gonna be destroyers, not builders. And that's how we're gonna control them, because we're gonna use them to help destroy themselves and destroy others around them and destroy their community. We're gonna use them for that purpose. And then we're going to lock them up and make them a slave. We're going to make them a legal slave. Yeah, they can't do that when you come from good stock. They can try, but they're not successful. That's why they got to break up the black father. They got to get that black father out of the house. They got to get him out of that house. They got to get that black father away from those kids, man. Because if that black father is around those kids and that black father is present, involved in those kids' life, those kids are going to have a better chance at life. They cannot have that. The name of the game is to subjugate. The name of the game is to violate, oppress, run interference, deny. That's the name of the game. They're hating on Shedeur, not for the sins of the father, but for the wins of the father. Deion Sanders is a winner. Say what you want to say about him, but he's a winner. He knows how to win. And he's a respectful dude. He's an honorable dude. Most people who know Deion, the people that know Deion, they all got good things to say about him. I don't know him like that, but I know people that know him like that, and they all got nothing but good things to say about him. The way he carries himself like a man. He's stiff. He carries himself like a man. He carries himself in a prideful, honorable, principled manner. Why would you hate on something like that? He don't mess with nobody, but you mess with him, he gonna get dead on your head. You saw what he did to Andre Rison and that other dude who tried to, what they call it, chop block, tried to chop block Dion. Dion like, bing, beat it. You know what I'm saying? That's a good dude. You know, a dude that mind his own business. He don't mess with nobody. He take care of business. He minds his own business. He looks after his people. But if you mess with him or his, he gonna get dead on your head. Ain't that the kind of dude you want to be around? Ain't that the type of friend you want to have? So I see all of this as an overall win for Shedeur because ultimately he got what he wanted. Ultimately, he wanted to be an NFL player, a professional player. He wanted to be drafted into the NFL. Now, in his wildest dreams, he could not imagine being drafted number 144 when he knows he's a top, 5 prospect, top 10, easy. He should have definitely went in the first half of the first round in the draft. He should have been picked. He should have been selected within the first 16 players. So we all know what that's about, fam. Those uncivilized mutts got together and they colluded like they colluded against Colin Kaepernick. They colluded and they said, yo, we can't let him in. Well, I ain't letting him in. Ha ha ha. I ain't letting him in either. I ain't letting him in either. They colluded. Yeah. When they can't control you, yeah, man, they don't want you around because you bad for business if they can't control you. A person that they can't control. And when I say control, I'm not talking about a person that's irate, a person that's unhinged. I'm not talking about somebody like that. I'm just talking about a person they can't make bow down and kiss the ring. A person who don't have any scruples. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying a person who stands for something, who's not going to be bullied, pushed around. That's not good for business because they're used to pushing people around, making them bow down. Remember what the owner of the Cowboys did to his team during the kneeling boycott? Jerry Jones told his players, if I catch one of y'all know that's something your mama say, right? If I catch you, I'm gonna beat you. He said, if I catch one of y'all kneeling during the national anthem, you better start looking for another job. He said something along those lines. You better start looking for new employment. And all of those suckers got in line. Every last one of them got in line. Not one of them bucked. All of them got in line. That's why I don't like Cowboys to this day. I don't like them. I don't like the organization. I don't like Zeke. I think he I think he was. I don't know if he's still playing for the team, but I don't like him. I don't like their quarterback. Uh, what's his name? He worse than Romo. I don't like neither. Yeah, I don't like. I don't like. I don't like him. No backbone. If those two alone would have just stood together, if those two would have stood together, they would have got the other ones to stand up, and they could have told the owner how it was going to go down. Because the owner can't afford to lose that many good players in one swipe. He can't afford it. He would have had to acquiesce to their demands. Yeah, Dak Prescott, that's his name. Yeah, I don't like him. No backbone. No backbone whatsoever. Well, Texas on is dead. The one that was in that little group around that time who said, I think he's the one who said something about uh, not allowing the inmates, not accepting the players kneeling because it's like allowing the inmates to run the prison. So he's dead. Amethyst Hamlet, what's up? Yeah, I used to like the Cowboys, man. But boy, when Jerry Jones said what he said about that kneeling stuff, I was like, man, I don't like him. I want. I need them to. I need them to go down. Pittsburgh is my team. Pittsburgh Steelers. I've been riding with Pittsburgh since the 70s. That's my team. Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, of course, I got to ride with the home team, So if it's Texas, if it's the Texans against Pittsburgh, then I'm gonna have to put Pittsburgh on ice. But other than that, it's Pittsburgh all the way. Tiffany Brazier says, I can't stand Pittsburgh. I can't stand Steelers, especially that coon Tomlin. Is Tomlin is Tomlin that? I need to watch a little bit more closer because I guess I ain't never really paid attention to that enough. What did he say that was coon like? Or what did he do? Almighty Finn, Tyson Williams, what's up? Buckhorse DC, what it do? Okay, it sounds like everybody else in the chat disagrees with this Tomlin being a coon type thing. So I'm gonna ride with everybody else on this because I ain't never seen him do something that was coon worthy. You know, I be hunting coons, so you know I see them. I could tell. I could I could damn near smell them. What's that? I smell a coon. Jesse Richardson says the greatest quarterback, in my opinion, was Joe Montana. Yeah, so I like Terry Bradshaw. I like Joe Montana too, but I think Terry Bradshaw was tougher. He just tough as nails. I don't think Tom Brady could have survived. He could have played in the 70s and 80s, but I don't think he would have survived. He wouldn't have survived intact. He would have gotten broken up. He was able to play 21 years, 22 years, however long it was, because he barely got hit after those first couple of years that he played. He barely even got touched. They was changing the rules where you couldn't even touch the quarterback. So imagine how much longer those other players would have lasted and how many more Super Bowls somebody like Terry Bradshaw or Tony or Joe Montana would have won. Or Steve, what's the other one? Steve, who played for San Francisco. Um, Steve Young. Yeah, I don't think Tom Brady would have been able to play like those guys played. You know, I don't think he would have survived. Those guys was a lot tougher. Just like when I look at players like Steph Curry, when I look at players like Steph, he couldn't have done. He couldn't have played when Iverson was playing. Iverson was a giant killer. Iverson would go to the hole. Man, if you played basketball in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, you was getting touched. You going to the floor. These guys today, you barely touch them. You barely touch them. And it's a violation. They won't let you touch him. Iverson used to go to the hole and bang with 7-footers. Guys that was 270 pounds. Some of them guys 100 pounds heavier than him. Going up to the hole like hit the floor. Damn near every time he went up to the hole, he hit the floor and got back up. Iverson, man, Iverson was an alien. Steph Curry sit back and shoot that jumper, man, you can't touch him. So he ain't got no fear. Ain't nothing to fear. I like to watch him play, I ain't gonna lie, but I don't think he could have, he wouldn't have been as effective as he came up in the 80s and the 90s. I don't think he would have been as effective. Because you had to play, you had to be tough. You didn't have to just be offensively tough. You had to be defensively tough. If you want to stay on the floor. Iverson, man, ooh-wee. You got big men that don't go to the hole because they don't want that contact. Iverson was fearless. Jordan got to the point later on in his career where you really couldn't touch him. But the first half of Jordan's career, Jordan was getting banged. Jordan was risking his life going to the hole. They was trying to knock his head off. He ended up on the floor a lot, not by slipping, by getting hit. He took a bunch of hits. Jordan was tough too. Tough. Yeah, he was tough. What's up, Kenny Knight, Judge Dreads, David Yaboro, Gabriel, what's up? D Brown, Victor Williams, Trevon McSellers, what's up? What's up, Brandy Nuance? Okay, fam, that's my time. I appreciate y'all joining the live. Again, Shadur Sanders has finally been drafted as the 144th pick in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. It's not as bad as we think it is, because he can use this whole thing as motivation while he's out there on the football field to become even better than what he is. Now he knows for a fact that he cannot take this opportunity for granted. I think that this is going to actually fuel his fire. I think now that he knows that he can be replaced, he knows that he's expendable. See? You know, the thing about that is, I think all of us would actually be better people. I think we could be better husbands, wives, spouses, whatever, business people, employees, employers, if we all realize that we are expendable. Because when you realize that you can be replaced, you tend to be on your game. You get on your game and you protect it more. That's my time, fam. I appreciate you joining the live. Until next time, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. No more talk.